Welcome back to the Strategic Expert Show by Millionaire Makers. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the world of programmatic media. If you're wondering what programmatic media is, why it's becoming a game changer in the marketing industry, and how you can start leveraging it for your business, this episode is going to be for you. Our guest today is a passionate expert in programmatic advertising and multi-touch attribution. With a deep understanding of complex ad tech environment, she thrives on helping advertisers navigate and excel in this space. With many years of experience, she's guided companies to efficiently allocate their ad dollars, ensuring they are directed to the best possible places for success across the entire marketing funnel. Her expertise lies in helping advertisers avoid common pitfalls, such as wasting ad dollars on targeting the wrong users who don't fit their demographics or personas. She enjoys working closely with the advertisers to refine their targeting strategies and improve the efficiency of their ad spend, ultimately driving better results. Her commitment to her clients and her family, combined with her diverse interests and extensive experience, makes her a standout figure in the world of programmatic advertising and marketing. Please welcome Jessica Chase. Jessica, it's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Jessica, can you walk us through a little bit of your background?
For sure. Yeah. I've been in online advertising in general for about 20 years. I started on the client side at 1-800-CONTACTS. They
Okay.
sell contact lenses online. And I was the marketing administrative assistant there. And so I kind of got to see into the world of all kinds of marketing since I helped everybody on the team. And when I worked there, it was in about 2002 to about 2010. So marketing was largely traditional at that point. We were kind of
Yeah.
getting into like paid search and affiliate. Affiliate was really big back then. But we did a lot of like website optimization and making sure that when users got to our website that they had a good conversion journey. So I kind of got into website optimization for a little bit, was working with the developers to use tools that you could see kind of what the path was on the website and, where people were falling off, whether it was errors or just issues with the user experience, and was helping with that for a while. And then I got into the world of acquisition marketing, and was working with paid search and SEO and affiliate. I did help our traditional team that did a lot of traditional TV and traditional mailers like magazines and newspapers. And I don't know if you remember Valpak, but it was
Yeah.
like a coupon that was mailed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then I kind of just found my way into the affiliate industry back then. I ran their affiliate program for a few years, and they had 3,500 affiliates at the time. And so that kind of helped me understand the publisher side of things, because affiliates are really just people who are, and now they kind of call them influencers,
Right.
are just people who create content and they have websites that they would like to monetize their content. And so now, yeah, they're called influencers, where people are monetizing content on TikTok and Instagram and all the things. But back then it was a lot of mommy bloggers and coupon websites. And, that's
The
kind
internet was
of,
a very different place back then.
it was. And there was a lot of fraud going on. And anyways, so I was in the affiliate industry for a while. I went and worked for an actual affiliate, somebody that did cash back on credit cards. So
Okay.
that would also be considered an affiliate looking to monetize traffic, is a bank that's doing cash back for their clients.
Okay.
I was responsible for working with advertisers on negotiating what kind of cash back they were willing to give when somebody made a purchase on their card. Costco still does that. So I kind of learned the publisher side of the business pretty in depth. And then I worked for a large international marketing agency called Rakuten, and they ran omni-channel advertising. So they ran programmatic, paid search, and affiliate. And then they had a multi-touch attribution tool that would analyze the full funnel of the journey and help
Okay.
clients understand how many touch points were in the journey, how long their sales cycle was. So some clients, their sales cycle is 2 weeks. Sometimes their sales cycle is 3 months to a year.
Yeah.
So Google Analytics doesn't do the best job of judging that type of long sales cycle behavior. And
Right.
so it was really interesting to see different clients and what their sales cycle was and how many touch points it took across programmatic, search, and affiliate to generate optimal sales based on spend. So that was really fun. And then I've really been on my own after that, just really focused on programmatic for about the last 10 years.
Awesome. So you've been around the block for sure. You you
Oh, for sure.
you definitely know your way around the marketing environment.
Hmm.
That's really cool. So let's get into programmatic media a little bit. Like, what is it? Because when you first raised your hand that you were interested in doing this podcast and said that was what you did, I actually didn't know what it was.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what brought me to getabovethefold.com is I I really saw that advertisers were really overvaluing the bottom of the funnel a lot when I was at Rakuten.
Okay.
And the reason for that, if you think about it, is Google has built a reporting platform around what they do. So Google built Google Analytics around their paid search platform and their advertising platform in the 90s.
Yeah.
Marketers still use it. And I kind of, learned a lot about this when I was at Rakuten. And I was like, it really is easy to just kind of go into paid search and affiliate because it captures all of the credit at the bottom of the funnel, right? I worked in affiliate for years and I got all the credit in my marketing department because what do people do at the end of their conversion journey on a website? They
That's
put a
what.
coupon, they put a
Yeah.
coupon code.
Right.
So, and a lot of advertisers try to remove that coupon box because they don't want to remind the client to go find a coupon and then take their margin down.
Yeah.
But a lot of clients are really reliant on coupons. So a lot of advertisers haven't figured out a solution around that. But
Well, I'm sure some of
unless
it's
they,
inflated too. Knowing that they've got a 10% coupon, they inflate their price by 10%. So they're really not hitting their
yeah,
margins.
yeah, or they do like a unique code now where,
Mm-hmm.
every user has a unique code. But anyways, think about the marketing journey and how there's, on average, there's 10 to 20 touch points in a user journey. And Google Analytics will take credit for the last click,
Right.
not even the last view
Yeah.
if
It's
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 a
last
TV
click
ad.
attribution.
Yeah, not even the last view if it was a TV ad, right? Like if somebody saw a TV ad and they went directly to the website, Google would still take attribution for that because a lot of times what happens when somebody sees a TV ad is they do a search too.
Mm-hmm.
So Google wants to capture that credit. And they've been the kings and queens of like taking credit for all the marketing for years. And I saw this happening at Rakuten. And although it's a challenge, I truly believe that marketing is awareness driven, right? People
Yeah.
need to know about your brand in order to take action. They don't know to go do a search unless they see a TV ad.
Well,
And they don't
especially if
know.
they're actually you're trying to get them to have that brand recognition because you can function within Google search, but that's a catch as catch can. They're just going to look and click on whoever's at the top of the search when they go look for it versus
Mhm.
actually searching for you. So there's a difference between searching for your products and searching for you here.
Exactly. And I did a poll on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago that said, is awareness more important or is clicks?
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. It was about 50-50, but marketers have been very click reliant for many years. And for some reason, they only care about the click. A lot of that has to do with it's an easier way to attribute it
Yeah,
because
you can
of how
justify your
Google.
existence. I've made this
Yeah.
argument, so I can understand it because, and it's one of the reasons I like Google over some of the other platforms is it's a lot easier for me to go to a client and tell them, we
Yes.
got this many clicks, it turned into this many sales, it feels what feels like a very scientific justification, but I think you're about to unravel my arguments.
Yeah. And not only you and not only clients, but CFOs,
Yeah,
CEOs, a lot of times they're just like, well, what data platform are we using to track this? And the only thing a lot of people have is Google Analytics. And I just want
correct.
to make people smarter and I want to make them better marketers. And um, So where programmatic really comes in is at the top in the middle of the funnel.
Okay.
And it's more to drive awareness to then drive those searches at the bottom of the funnel, right?
Okay.
So we go back to that question of, is awareness more important or is clicks more
Right.
important? And again, you can't really get the clicks unless people know about your brand. So yes, you'll continue to get the clicks of people that know about your brand and your current customers and but if you really want to grow your market share and you want to grow your awareness, that's where programmatic really fits in well to the equation, which is why when I was at Rakuten, we had a multi-touch attribution tool that would say, are you putting too much money at the bottom of the funnel just because Google Analytics is saying that's where you're getting the most clicks?
Right.
Should you put like 50% of your spend at the top of funnel for awareness and 50% at the bottom of the funnel so that you can make sure you're growing your business, right? So
Okay.
that's where I really was like, this is so cool. And I really want to like go out on this mission to help advertisers understand this attribution journey and, make sure that they're not putting too much money at the bottom of the funnel. And it has been honestly like extremely challenging because of what you just said, that people love Google because Google shows the clicks.
Yeah.
However, I still am having a lot of fun doing it. And so I do recommend that advertisers put at least 50% at the top of the funnel in programmatic and 50% at the bottom of the funnel. I think they're putting way too much money at the bottom of the funnel. And I actually work with a lot of multi-touch attribution companies, marketing mix modeling companies that have verified this data and have shown that a cost per lead at the bottom of the funnel can be over $1,000 when you look at
Yeah.
every touch point in the journey, whereas at the top of the funnel, it can be 50.
Yeah.
So, and that's not going to be shown in Google Analytics. That's only going to be shown in a marketing mix modeling, statistical analysis. But that's what I really educate my clients to do when they do start programmatic advertising is help you find a marketing mix modeling company that can help you see the full picture with views in the journey, because Google doesn't include views or impressions. But what programmatic is it's highly targeted ads at the top and middle part of the marketing funnel. And what it allows advertisers to do is it allows advertisers to say, this is the demographic that I want to target. This is the customer persona that I want to target. I don't want to do spray and pray advertising anymore and waste a bunch of money. I really just want to focus in on my client, my ideal client, and find net new customers within that customer persona on TV, radio, podcasts, display, native, and video inventory.
Okay.
So let's say that there's, a company where their target demographic is, people who make over $1 million because they're looking for investors or something.
Sure.
But that's a very niche audience, and you
Yes.
really do not want to be serving ads to users who can't invest, right? If you're an investment company, there's no point in serving ads to like 90% of the population.
Yeah. And all you're going to be doing is wasting ad dollars.
You're just going to be wasting. And so what programmatic does is it says, let's just focus on your customer persona, or we can also take anonymized data. We don't see it, it's hashed. But we can take your customer data and we can create lookalike audiences off of it to find new users that look like that data. Or we can get people to repurchase. So it's not only focused on net new users, but
Okay.
yeah, it's really just highly targeted marketing to your upper mid funnel so that you can grow your business, so you can gain market share and not just focus on people who are searching for your brand navigationally.
Absolutely. And this kind of brings to mind something I heard a long time ago. That supposedly there's some psychology behind this, that you basically have like 3 pegs in your mind for everything you're trying to keep track of. So if you want to name 3 doctors, you could probably name 3 doctors. You probably couldn't name a 4th. You can name 3 lawyers, 3 of whatever the company is, 3 grocery stores you typically go to and have a hard time naming. Like your mind keeps track of 2 to 3 of a category.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're talking doing awareness and keeping people aware of your business and brand, that's kind of trying to occupy one of those three spaces to make sure whenever they think about you or think about your product, you're in there. That is kind of what I'm taking away from what you've essentially just laid out for us.
Absolutely. It's finding net new people that you wouldn't have found if you were doing other types of marketing. And it also helps grow the bottom of the funnel too. So we don't recommend people turning on programmatic unless they've got paid search live, because when somebody sees a connected TV ad on a smart TV, or they hear a podcast ad, they're going to go do a related search
Yeah.
likely, or they're going to go directly to the website. So you're going to see a lift in SEO, paid search, direct traffic, as well as even sometimes social, right? Because people may be on Facebook while they're watching a TV ad, or they could be on any channel. So
That's
that's why
long
it's
been my
important.
argument against billboards with
Yeah.
clients. I've worked in the attorney space and I've made an argument against that. I'm like, well, whenever you're in the car, nobody's looking out the car window anymore, except for the driver. Everybody's on
Yeah.
their phone or watching TV, like, or listening to a podcast, different things like that. They're not really watching the billboards much, but the billboards have their place, like you said, for awareness. That everybody knows the attorneys who have 100 billboards along the freeway. Everybody kind of
Yeah.
has that beaten into their brain a little bit.
And it's just another touch point, right?
Yeah.
And when you layer on more touch points, conversion rate increases. So whether it's billboards or digital out of home, TVs in the airports or whatever it is, it's just another touch point that can put somebody over the line to where they actually submit a lead, or they actually, make a purchase.
See, I
So
love that. The way you just said that was absolutely fantastic about the more touch points, the better the chance of closing the person.
yes.
That that actually takes me back to some sales training I've done. That,
Mhm.
most people try to make a sale on the first call and the
Yeah.
first connection, and that usually doesn't happen. It's like
Hmm.
3% of all sales will close within the first call, 5% close within the first 2 to 3, but like 80% of sales close between contact point 5 and like 12.
Yeah. No, you're speaking exactly to marketing touch points, right?
Yeah. I
It's
think they go
exactly
hand
how
in
it works.
hand. When I got sales training on it, it was focused around follow up. And, once somebody's clicked on the ad, once somebody's called you, you need to chase them 5 to 12 times. But I
Yeah.
think I think marketing can automate and facilitate some of those touch points within a
Hmm.
business organization and a sales organization, to where the sales reps don't have to do everything to maintain some of those touch points.
Right. No, you are speaking to it perfectly. I oftentimes describe it like a soccer team or a basketball team, and
Okay.
like Google always gets credit for the goal or the shot that goes
Google's
in.
the Kobe Bryant, the Michael Jordan, the
Yeah, but like what about all the other team players that helped like the client actually get there, right? I
I
mean,
like
it
that. That's a great analogy.
it takes quite a few touch points sometimes to get the user to actually purchase, especially if they're a net new user. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of users that are like searching for you, they have to know about you from something. But if you're finding a net new user, they have to be warmed up for a while across a couple of different touch points, whether it's billboards or TV or, social media or whatever, before they actually feel comfortable enough to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a purchase with you or submit a lead to you. And it allows for a lot of education as well.
Yeah. I've seen the funnel work in reverse actually too. Just I've worked in the legal space a lot, and a lot of times you get people who just go Google search, criminal defense attorney. They're not looking for anybody in specific. But once they found you and talked to you, then they end up on your marketing and looking at your Facebook and your Google My Business profile and some of these other places. Like they've had that first touch point. Okay, I kind of like this guy. Let me look into them and see what their record is. So I've seen the funnel actually work in reverse, where you still need that marketing. If you didn't have it, like,
Mhm.
they may not come back around for that second phone call and try to actually close a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's retargeting is really important. Retargeting may go away with cookies going away.
Yeah.
But there are some identifiers out there that can likely help with that. And we can kind of get into that when we talk about kind of the evolution of programmatic. But I also wanted to mention that billboards can be programmatic. Digital out of home can be programmatic, which like they can even show ads in like taxis and
Yeah.
Ubers and airports, and that's programmatic as well as retail media is on the rise. So retail media is for anybody that's selling in a major retail big box store like Target or
Walmart, things like that.
Walmart, Home Depot. There can be a lot of correlations done to say, like, is this advertising impacting in-store sales? We can actually tie to the in-store systems in a
Okay.
lot of aspects now from a programmatic perspective. And they actually have the ability to show like TVs in the stores. That's kind of digital out of home inventory, right? But you can kind of tie the impact back to the ads within stores as well. So
Yeah.
retail media is kind of a big thing in the programmatic industry right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's that rings a lot of bells for me. I was recently working with a farmer who produces like salsas and chipotle peppers, things like that. And a lot of their media that we were trying to drive was driven around getting people to go into the stores and make purchases, much more so than making an online purchase of this. It was,
Yeah.
calling out, hey, we're now in these 5 stores in California. We're in this place. Like, go check us out at your local Kroger or Walmart or whatever. It was a lot more geared towards actually making sales for their end user, which was the stores, much more so than trying to get individual customers to go to Amazon or their website, it was a
Yeah.
different model that I was, it was new to me, and it was an interesting thing to explore.
And Walmart has a lot of proprietary inventory for people who are running in their stores that want to do these type of campaigns. Like they'll run campaigns on their website as like display inventory and things like that. So if people are running in Walmart stores, um, they should be running on their website and in their
Yeah.
app,
Well,
things like
now
that. They want to be
their
seen.
app is huge for that now, because now they're Walmart's moving into, scan your stuff with the app and walk out. You don't even have to check out anymore.
Yeah.
So you're literally on your phone on the app looking at it. So yeah, that's a killer place to advertise if you're trying to get somebody to, come buy something that you have there.
Yep. I think retail media is going to become bigger in the programmatic industry. But the cool thing about programmatic is it captures your ID at one time, and then it can serve you ads across mobile, desktop, your smart TV, your podcast. So it's
I think you
important
kind
to
of
have
touched on this before when you called it omni-channel, where
yeah,
it's
it's
everywhere.
important to have an omni-channel strategy for sure. So when we run TV ads for people on a smart TV, we capture the people who are completing a view of the TV ad, and we serve them ads across video, display, native, various ad formats so that they see those regular touch points like you and I were talking about with the soccer team and the basketball team.
Okay, so this also gets into some of those streaming. I haven't personally messed with the streaming stuff, but I've seen, like Hulu ads and things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
perfect.
Hulu has their own platform. I think it's
Right.
called Disney Plus now. But the cool thing about running with like a programmatic agency like ours is you don't have to go to like Hulu and Roku and every single publisher and negotiate one-off ad buys.
Right.
What we do, we have access to every app on a smart TV, every website on the open internet, and every app on a mobile device, every podcast. And so marketers used to call like random websites like New York Times.
Yeah.
Can I get a placement on your website? And now it's like you don't really need to do that. And when you do that, honestly, it's more expensive
Yeah.
because New York Times is going to upsell you. They've got their own sales team and they're going to be like, this is our minimum and blah,
I've
blah,
kind of
blah.
made this argument, even in the digital space, when people are like, oh, we need to boost a post. And I'm like, do not boost a post through the front end of Facebook. Like,
Yeah.
it is the one way you will spend way more money. Facebook takes advantage of it, and you're not going to get what you're after.
Their CPMs are going up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas in the programmatic industry, the CPMs have remained pretty flat. I mean, they'll go up a little bit during the holiday timeframe
Sure.
because there's more demand, but I can't believe the CPMs lately coming out of Facebook. Like it blows my
It's
mind.
it's going up and up, and I think the algorithms, and for people who don't know what CPM is, this is I kind of wrapped my head around this probably about 6 months ago or so. Facebook does not charge in the same way that Google does. They give you the same statistics, and this is where I feel it's a bit deceptive, because they will give you a cost per click but it's a calculated value. It's
Mhm.
not, they're not actually charging you per click like Google does.
Yeah.
Google shows your ad to as many people as it can, trying to get the clicks, but it charges you based on how many clicks you get.
Mhm.
Facebook does the opposite, where it charges you per 1,000 views. And that was like a different way for me. That was a very different way of looking at this. And I have to think about Facebook as a digital billboard, because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
You're paying for the traffic
Programmatic
of
is
people going
similar.
through. Yeah.
Programmatic media is bought on a CPM as well.
Yeah. So
Oh.
that CPM is a different way of looking at it. And you have to be really careful not to get sucked into that bottom funnel, because it's tempting. It's tempting to
Mhm.
get back into, oh, well, they said this is the cost per click on Facebook. Why is my cost per click going up? It's actually because your CPM is going up, and your
Yeah.
CPM is what's driving everything else. So you need to optimize for the CPM.
Remember, the thing to remember with CPM is it's based on views, right?
Yeah.
It's not really a click-based metric. And
Yeah.
this is why the Google Analytics thing doesn't really work with those type of campaigns, because it doesn't track views, but views generate awareness.
Right.
They're still important. And so it's
I,
kind of
I
a
would agree.
balance,
They're
right?
very important. And one of the things I found when looking at, how do I optimize CPM, is content getting stale.
Yes.
Uh,
Oh, yes. You have to
that
refresh your creative regularly.
Correct. And you don't really have to do that on a PPC ad. Like, I ran the same PPC ads without the cost per click going up with a client for 6 months or a year or longer. Because it's
Yeah.
really only, especially if you're doing lead based. So like, let's say an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
the person's only looking for an attorney when they need the attorney right then and there. So it's not like they've seen a ton of attorney ads floating around. They're only seeing the ad pop up on Google, which is very different than Facebook. Facebook will serve it. And I was actually having a conversation 2 nights ago with a client about this, that because they were utilizing another company they had some credit with to do some Facebook meta ads. And the
Mm-hmm.
data we were getting back was all the impressions. And the one number I wasn't getting back from the company that we're supposed to get back now is the reach. Because
Yeah.
I was trying to explain to them there is a difference between reach and impressions, because we may see that the reach really isn't changing, but the impressions shows that Facebook's serving the same ad over and over and over, and we're not
Very,
getting
very
clicks
important
because of
question.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, frequency capping is very important. And there are a lot of companies that will just let the frequency go, like Hulu, for example. Think of Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
See, you see the same ad over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
That means that they're not frequency capping. So we
exactly.
typically say to show like one ad a day. And then on our campaigns, we will typically put a viewability layer on as well, which is why we're called getabovethefold.com. We want to be shown above the fold on a lot of websites, and it's called a
Okay.
viewability metric. And you
That
can,
makes sense.
it definitely limits your reach, right? But it makes sure that you're showing in really key areas on websites and apps, and just making sure that, yeah, you're layering on frequency capping, because it can get out of control how many ads are being served to people, and you can waste a lot of ad spend.
And this is the same within the PPC, especially on Meta. I typically do not allow automatic posting within Meta when I'm
Mhm.
running those ads. I want to get in and control it, because there's certain places that you're just wasting ad spend on. If you're advertising in the right hand column on Facebook, you're probably wasting your money. If
Mhm.
you're doing skippable ads, you're probably wasting money, because everybody's going to hit skip 5 seconds in. So
Yes.
it's things like that where I agree with you. You definitely want to try to control some of where you appear. It's going to diminish how many views you get, but you're also
They're going
still
to be
trying to get some
more
of that intent.
quality.
Yeah,
They're going to
more
be more quality.
quality, higher intent,
Hmm.
which is great. Well,
Yeah.
I think I've got a better handle on kind of what you're doing. So I'd like to get into some of like the key components. Like, how does this actually work? So let's say somebody comes to work with you. Like, what platforms? How are you designing this out? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we can kind of get into this like with the evolution and growth of programmatic, because
Okay.
it really started in the early 2000s, and it was really just like, okay, this is automated systems buying and selling ad space, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2009, when I really started getting into programmatic advertising, real-time bidding was invented.
Okay.
That that enables advertisers to bid on impressions in real time and based on user data, which is why programmatic has to be on a CPM basis, is because we're truly bidding on impressions across the entire open internet and every app there is.
So
So
explain that to me. Real time versus not doing it in real time. Like, can you explain that to me? Like, what does that mean?
that means that at any given moment, multiple advertisers can bid on a single impression of publisher inventory. So the
Okay.
goal is to win the ad, right, with the highest bid. So if you think about it, it's kind of like the stock market. The goal is to put the right price in to win the key users, right? So if I'm
Yeah.
trying to win a user that makes over $1 million a year and I'm trying to win the impression for investors, I need to make sure that I'm bidding with the right price for that key user on various publisher websites. Does that make sense?
It does. It kind of actually took me back to my own explanation of PPC advertising to somebody once when I was trying to explain to them some of the metrics of like top of page rate, uh, some of these other things where essentially, and this is the weird part I think about advertising is a lot of people think, oh, I put out this much money, I get this much impressions or this much clicks back. It's really hard to sometimes think about it that it is an auction environment.
Yeah.
You are all like all these companies because you are technically a product of the platforms you're advertising on.
Yeah.
Even though you're like, well, I'm a customer and I'm serving them, you're not their actual customer. In a weird way, you are a customer, but you are a product of Google, a product of Yelp, of Facebook, of whoever you're advertising on, and they're actually serving you to their customers. And
Yes.
so you're trying to bid to be in that place. So when I'm telling somebody, well, your top of page rate's 14%, that means that for every time somebody does a search, 1 out of 8 times you're going to be in that top slot because the
Hmm.
other 8 times somebody else is going to be there.
Yeah.
And it is a weird thing to wrap your head around because it's a very complex environment, I think.
Well, and you also just don't want to be like that person that's like, well, I don't want to pay a high CPM. It's like, well, you want to pay like the right CPM to get the
Yeah,
right user,
you want to be
right?
high. You want to be high enough.
Yeah,
Um,
but you don't want to be too high, but you don't want to be too low because there's a lot of competition. And so you want to make sure that it is complex in the sense that you want to make sure that you're showing the right amount of ads to the right user at the right time at the right
yeah,
point,
this takes me
right?
back to manually bidding on PPC ad clicks.
Yeah.
And looking at like, okay, well, what's the average top of page bid and manually adjusting for that. But if you didn't pay attention to that and all of a sudden the rate dropped, you could be paying 20, 30, $40 above what everybody else was paying because you were doing manual bidding on everything.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I mean AI has helped a lot with that in the past few years. Like everybody's like got the AI buzzword or whatever lately, but programmatic's been using AI for like 9 or 10 years. But it's even so much so that now some of the demand side platforms, the DSPs are saying like AI is not making the best decisions all the time. Like
Yeah.
really need a human to guide these decisions because we've done all this analysis on AI and it doesn't really know how to make the best decisions sometimes. So
It
it's
does one thing
really
really
important.
good. And if it gets outside of that, it can't handle it.
Yeah. So AI kind of scares me a little bit because I feel like it's just everybody's like, oh, it's smarter than humans, but it really needs a human to guide it.
Right. I think it's faster than people. And because somebody else could probably do the same analysis, but it's still one of those things that AI still does need to be guided. It does need to be analyzed and understood. We don't have general intelligence AI at this point. If that
Right.
ever happens, that might be a different story. But right now, AI is very selective and it's only as good as what it was programmed and built to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you brought up a term there that I'm curious about, which is the DSPs. What is the difference between a DSP and SSP? Like, can you break that down for me?
Yes. And you are not the only one that does not know this. Like I run into marketers, like very seasoned marketers all the time that do not know the difference between I'm going to go into like DSP, SSP, ad exchange, and DMP.
Okay.
So okay, they all kind of work together, but I'll start on the supply side just because we've kind of talked about that a lot already.
Okay.
The supply side would be like what I used to work with on the affiliate side of the business, right? So it's
Okay.
anybody that's really generating content. So some really big publishers that you would know of are like Fox News and CNN and any news organization, right?
Okay.
So they're creating content on their website and they're trying to monetize that content because newspapers won't exist and news platforms won't exist without advertising.
Correct.
Is how it works. So a supply side platform allows a publisher like that to come in and sell digital advertising on their website. Then what a demand side, well, then there's an ad exchange. So an ad exchange is a place where advertisers and publishers can buy advertising space. A demand side platform takes all the supply side platforms and all the ad exchanges and it puts it in one place so that clients and agencies can buy from multiple ad exchanges, multiple supply platforms. And then within the DSP is a data management platform, which is really largely just a bunch of aggregated data
Okay.
is separated into like different segments. So let's say people who make over $100,000 or whatever. So there's a lot of different data companies like Oracle and Excelate and things like that, and credit card companies, and they take all this data, they aggregate it, and then they put it into different segments that you can target.
All
So
right.
that would be like income level or in market for this thing, or they've like they purchased something for a baby in the last 90 days. So they're in market for baby stuff right now.
Sure.
So that's what that's what a data management platform is, a DMP. And you can access
So,
in the DSPs.
so if I'm following you here, the SSPs are the individual advertisers or individual platforms. Let's say Hulu, like you said, CNN, Fox, some of these places. And then the DSP or the demand side is something that allows you access to all of them. Because we kind of talked about this where you could go on to Hulu's ad platform and Google and Facebook and like you're individually managing all of these, where it
Yes.
sounds like a DSP is what allows you to manage all of them at once.
Yes, although it doesn't allow you to manage Google and Facebook because they're
Correct.
walled gardens.
Of
So
course.
Google is a walled garden, Facebook is a walled garden, LinkedIn is a walled garden,
But
TikTok is a
within
walled
your
garden.
space of these other platforms, it kind of allows you access.
Yes. So
Okay.
most publishers and most websites are not walled gardens,
Yeah.
but like most websites on the open internet are not walled gardens.
Correct.
But those particular ones you can't manage within a DSP because they have their own management systems.
Yeah, and some of them are terrible.
Yeah.
I have my feelings about some of them for sure. Facebook in particular.
Yeah.
And so then the data management allows you access to look at the data and understand, who you're going after.
Yeah. And it allows you to do real-time bidding within the
Okay.
platform on key users. So
Okay.
it's kind of like an E-Trade, if you can think about it, but it's like bidding on impressions instead of stocks.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I This is a different world for me. I do come from a strong background in PPC advertising and the Facebook and Meta and that side of the world, but this is a different world to kind of think about. It seems even more technical than I've always thought PPC was.
It is extremely technical, and I think worlds are colliding a little bit with all the privacy things going on. Like Google is going to be phasing out third-party cookies. They supposedly this year, but this has been going on for a while now. And
I've seen a couple of things with that. There's certain retargeting trends that I used to do that lately have been having issues, or your campaign gets flagged as violating some term that wasn't there before. Like it seems like
yeah.
there's some changes moving.
I think they rolled it out to like 1% of the population in January or something.
Hmm.
Um, so I think they're definitely doing testing, and they're definitely being held accountable to making things more privacy focused. And I
Apple's
think,
known for this too. The Apple privacy
yes,
features were a massive impact on marketers.
absolutely. And Europe also,
Yeah, it's the
Europe and California have implemented a lot of privacy restrictions. And I really do feel like this is something that all online marketing is going to be facing in the future.
yeah,
But one of the DSPs, the Trade Desk, they came out with their own identifier in about 2018. I think they foresaw the cookies going away and things like that. So what they do, and Google within their privacy sandbox, I think maybe coming, I don't know if they're going to come out with their own ID or not, but I think they're just trying to find a solution for cookies.
yeah,
The Trade Desk came out with something called the Unified ID 2.0 out in 2018, and it's not something that only the Trade Desk is leading. Like they made it its own thing for a reason, because I think that they saw that Google like built Google Analytics around Google, and like it's a conflict of interest, right? So it's like completely open source, Unified ID 2.0. And what it does is it leverages encrypted email and phone number data, and it creates a unique identifier for people. It's kind of like a cookie, right? But a
yeah.
cookie is triggered in a different way than that.
Okay.
But they've partnered with a bunch of publishers and data providers like AdBrain and LiveRamp and Oracle and TapAd, so that they can create this new ID. And
Okay.
they've got 3.1 billion devices on it so far.
It's a good data set.
Yeah, extremely awesome.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I think that that stat has actually doubled in the last year to probably 6.2 billion devices.
Wow. That's really, really interesting. And I know there's a lot of politics around tracking and data usage. I mean, we're headed into an election year. There's going to be a lot more that comes out about that, just like there always is. But
Yeah,
it is interesting.
it'll be interesting to see what happens with Google and with all online advertising, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be really, the world of advertising is constantly changing, and this is something I think some people don't always realize is for somebody to be really good at this, you have to chase it constantly. It's like a really big deal. It's the algorithms change daily. Sometimes there's updates that come out, like just to read all the updates that come out from Google and Meta that come into your inbox, like that's hours of work just to keep track of that.
Yeah, try to keep track of what Google's doing with their privacy sandbox.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing? I would love
Yep.
to.
Exactly.
But
uh,
it's cool. It's cool that companies like the Trade Desk are coming up with a solution for it, and that they've been working on it for like, I mean, 6 years now. So I don't think that like we should be super worried. I think there's still going to be a lot of targeting available. I don't know if site retargeting is going to be what it once was, but I think that's more of a reason why clients really need to make sure that they have a solution for first party data.
yeah.
Because like we can take first party data, we can upload it into the platform, we can create lookalike audiences off of it, we can retarget it. So it's really important for advertisers to have a solution to like have their first party data in a place where they can use it for their marketing in the future. And I think that that's become kind of a rude awakening
Yeah.
recently.
I would definitely agree with that. So let's say a company wants to do this. What is interested in getting into programmatic media, this has intrigued me. What are they looking at if they're what are the steps? If they're trying to get into this, like what kind of a base budget do they need? Like, I'm sure there's people like mom and pop shops are probably going to have a hard time doing something like this. Like you said, if they're not running PPC ads right now, it doesn't make sense. Like, what actually do they need to have in place? What kind of budgets and revenues typically is like a minimum? Like what is the best use case for programmatic media?
Well, in general, we don't recommend that people get into programmatic media unless they can spend at least 10,000 in overall marketing.
Okay.
And we recommend that they at least have Google on, like I said, because
Mm-hmm.
if we're showing a TV ad, somebody's going to go do a search.
Right.
Like they're going to go directly to the site or they're going to do a search. So
Correct.
it's helpful if they have a good SEO strategy because they could convert through SEO or paid search. However, there have been some cases where clients have come to us and they have no like base of a website and they're just like a startup, and we've taken clients from zero revenue to profitability and even finding investors with programmatic advertising.
Which
So
does make sense because, like you said, you're doing the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel,
mhm.
and that stuff still filters down to the bottom of the funnel at some point. So that is still a good place to start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this
and this
particular
particular
client had a
client had a
really
really
important like
important like
geo
geo
element
element to
where they
it, where they
really needed
really
to
needed to
focus on
focus on
certain
certain
geos that would
geos that
help
would
them
help
grow
them
their
grow their
business.
business. Okay.
And
Okay.
so
So
we were
we
able
were
to
able to
only
only
focus their
focus
ad
their ad
spend on
spend on
certain
certain
geofences
geofences. Right. Right.
that were
That were
really
really
important
important
for
for
their
their
growth.
growth.
And
That's been an
then
interesting geofencing has been an interesting development in the last few years.
yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be allowed due to privacy issues, but
Yeah,
it's
I
still allowed
mean,
for now.
for a while there, you could get down to really, really nitty gritty. As like a law firm, you could really tighten down to like, okay, I want to be really tight around like the courthouse and
Yeah.
pick up all the IP addresses going through the courthouse because that's an obvious. Those are going to be your clients.
You still can do that
Yeah,
for now.
for now. We'll see how long it lasts, but while it's
Yeah.
going, we're riding the party train.
You can still literally draw like a shape around a courthouse and only serve those people TV ads, podcast ads, display ads. But with that being said, the reach on that is going to be really low
It's
because
very tiny.
the
Yes,
amount of people that go into the courthouse, but you can do it.
right. So no,
But yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a really good use case where you guys can start with really anybody as long as they kind of hit that need, because there is a what do you call critical mass in advertising spend that
Yeah.
you really have to spend a certain amount to get the right amount of data, the right amount of numbers and stuff out to be able to make changes.
Yeah. And it takes time to ramp up. Like that client that we took from zero revenue to profitability,
Mm-hmm.
that took like 6 months to a year for them to get an investor, but they were patient and, that was really their goal. Their goal was to get an investor.
Yeah,
So
the high
everybody has a unique goal,
correct. And the high level of the funnel needs to have that understanding. I've broken that down for clients before. I'm like, look, Google ads, paid ads, it's pay to play. So you are going to have a budget for it, but it is the short-term low-hanging fruit. If you're doing a click to call ad, you spend X amount of money, you got X amount of calls. It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Where SEO, this programmatic media, social media content, those things actually do work, but they take months and years. If you're trying to get ranked number one on SEO, depending on your market and what you're going after, that can take years of fighting to get to that spot. Once
Yeah.
you're
And I mean,
there, it's highly valuable, but
you should see an impact from programmatic media on month 3.
yeah.
But it does take some time to ramp up because sometimes these are brand new users,
Mm-hmm.
and extending the amount of touch points that are needed to convert by adding in upper funnel and mid funnel elements.
Sure.
You're going out and you're reaching these net new users. They need more warming up. They need more time. Therefore, our campaigns need more time to show value. And I always recommend that the client looks at like a baseline value before they started running us. And then they look at like month 1, 2, and 3 and say, like, what did my CRM inputs look like or sales look like after running with you for 3 months? Like, you should know.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing it. It takes time. No, it's worth it. You can't play just the short game. You have to play both the long and the short game if you really want to grow. Because I think the long game is actually more beneficial. So this stuff you're talking about with programmatic media, SEO, some of these things, like once you get to where that's working really well, the value of that, and like you're talking about that base cost, after those few months, once you kind of sat it out and worked through it, it should be getting better, and you're actually doing much better than you were before. I know one of my previous clients, I worked with them for a long time, just putting in a little bit of SEO, every week, not a ton, but consistently doing it. And I've been away from them for 8 months now, and they're still in the number 2 spot for one of their services.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that value of that, they don't have to run ads anymore. And they actually haven't been running ads in that area, and they're still getting clients, still getting revenue, because, when somebody goes and looks for it, they're in that number 2, number 1 spot and holding that position. And they've held it for 8 months with nobody maintaining it. There's nobody in there right now continuously pushing the SEO.
Yeah.
So I think you're right that there's a value to programmatic media.
There's also so much to test.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's a big part of it too. Those first few months, there's a lot of testing, a lot of, what works, what doesn't, especially new users.
Well, and you don't want to jump around too fast, because I think marketers are really trained to have this 1-to-1 ROI in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But with programmatic media, it's like, if you're going to test connected TV, which is smart TV, you should keep that on for like 3 months and see like the impacts. And then it's like, well, what if I want to test programmatic podcasts? Well, then you should take another 3 months and test that.
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't probably test them all at one time. Like, you can, and you can see an even bigger impact. But if you want to see them each siloed, then you're going to have to take some time to do some testing.
That makes sense. And it does, when you're talking about doing the testing and things like that, that goes to something I believe in, that you really should be doing that. And it is a business strategy. If you really think about it, instead of going after that 1-to-1 ROI right away, think about companies like Uber and Amazon, who lost money for years before they got profitable, that they were building that base knowing eventually this will be profitable. Or, I think about the loss leader that people do in marketing and sales, where we're going to sell something at a loss because now we've got you as a customer. Now we have your data. Now we can remarket to you and upsell you to these better things that are actually going to make us money. So we're actually going to take a little bit of a loss here on the anticipation that it's going to get, it's going to get better. You're going to figure out some data.
Yeah. And we also just want people to think about, like, are they putting too much money at the bottom of the funnel too? Or could they spend some of that at the top of the funnel to generate awareness and, end up growing their company with the same amount of ad spend, right?
Exactly. There's a total element to that, because if people have that awareness of you, and like you said, if they see a TV ad, they're going to do a Google search. So I would make an argument, you do need some SEO, you do need some stuff, so that when they do the Google search, they find you. Because if they do the Google search and only find your competitors, you have a problem. Right. And I've gotten cease and desist letters for this from other people before, and other competitors, because we showed up ahead of them for their own name.
Yep.
And the client
did that at 1-800-CONTACTS.
Oh yeah, you get that nice cease and desist letter. You're using our name on your PPC ads, and I'm like, no, we're not. And the client will be like, are you doing this? I said, no, we're just better at this than they are. And so Google's recognizing us as a leader in this industry. And so when somebody searches their name, Google ties their name to the product, and we come up for the product. So we're actually listing higher than them, and they're just pissed. We didn't do anything wrong.
One cool thing you can do within Programmatic is you can actually, when somebody searches for a competitor's name, you can show a TV ad, a programmatic podcast ad, a display, native video without them even knowing.
Yeah.
So if people are reading about competitors' names, or if they've searched, you can actually show programmatic ads or listens without the competitors even knowing.
And I kind of did this a while, and this is one of those tricks that I feel like is going away a little bit, or I've certainly had issues with it more recently. Within, this is still within the PPC platform, but doing display ads, and the retargeting is other people's websites.
Yeah.
So doing that, and I've had issues with this, is why I'm thinking, when you're talking the cookies and some of these privacy issues, I think some of that's changing. Yeah. But it's been a great tool to raise awareness, and the cost per click is pennies on the dollar. but you're,
Yeah, with most DSP platforms, they won't allow you to do that
yeah.
unless you get
Google's
permission
starting
to
to
get
have issues with it.
pixels. Unless you get permission to get pixels on those websites.
Yeah.
But you can go around that by saying, well, when somebody's reading about this competitive name or term, or when they're searching for it actively, I want to show a display ad or a native ad or a TV ad to them.
Yeah. And
You
I
can
don't
do
think Google
that.
allows you specifically like the individual sites. Typically what it's doing is it's saying these types of sites, and it allows you to put in your competitor sites, but Google's just categorizing it as, okay, if you're a car dealership and you put in anybody who goes to the Ford or the Mitsubishi or the Nissan, I want to show them my Toyota dealership like ads,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah. It
putting
sounds
in
pretty
these people.
similar.
So I think it is very similar, but I have noticed Google starting to have an issue with it. So programmatic media might be the way to go
Hmm.
to get around that. Like you said, we sometimes rules change. We have to find ways around it. But
Yeah. So there's a lot of sensitive categories in Google, and like, health related
the
categories and
cannabis categories,
yes.
weapons.
And programmatic is really good for those sensitive categories if you have no other way to advertise.
That's really good. Good to know, because there are certain ones. I've had plenty of people that come to me, or I bumped into cannabis companies, CBD companies, and they really have a hard time advertising because
Yeah.
Google and Facebook won't allow them.
The only company that I've had an issue advertising is for Kratom because it's just like straight up not regulated.
Yeah,
So, like, even the DSPs won't allow you to advertise that. But for most sensitive categories on Google, we've been able to advertise for them.
that's actually really good to know, and it's even helpful for a marketer like me, because if I bump into somebody like that, I'm going to make that they're in that industry. I can now make a recommendation to somebody like you that, look, we need to employ this. This is how you're going to be able to actually get some traction, get some money going. Because the other way people have tried to do it is they've tried to get around Google, and if you get busted doing that, you're done. Like,
Yeah. Like they turn you off forever.
they
Yeah,
turn
no,
you
we
off forever.
partner.
It's IP. Like, they ban you in ways that it's not even funny.
Yeah, we partner with a lot of different like paid search agencies and SEO agencies just to layer on top of what they're doing. And a lot of times we'll even have like a joint call as joint partners just so that we can help with like the top mid part of the funnel and they can still help with the bottom of the funnel.
Awesome. So where do you feel like programmatic media is going? Like, what's future trends? What's something coming out that's kind of exciting that you're like, okay, this is going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think retail media, like I talked about, is going to be really big.
Okay.
I think more and more people will want to do like premium placements on, you know, certain publisher websites. I do think like hot topics in the future are going to be related around privacy, just
Mm-hmm.
because of, Google going away and what is the solution for that. And so I think the Trade Desk has, you know, an awesome solution in terms of what their ID does, their unified ID 2.0.
Okay.
Um, and I think a lot of clients are really going to need to focus on first party data and making sure that they have like a really good seed audience to build their advertising off of, because I think that's kind of the future of programmatic advertising is just really capitalizing on that first party data, but that's really reliant on the customer, the client, capturing that data and making it targetable to agencies and DSPs and things like that.
Sure.
So I think a big focus on just these solutions related to cookies are going to be really top of mind in the coming years as well.
Awesome. Jessica, I appreciate you having come on today. I've learned so much out of this. I feel like I got a better understanding of what it is, and how it can be effective as a strategy. I definitely could see it becoming a part of, even the business I'm doing and the customers I work with in the future. I think this is really important for marketers to understand and business owners, like the impacts of what you're doing, especially at that top of funnel. And this is something that goes back to, for me, goes back to sales analytics and CRMs. And this is why I keep track of data within like a salesman even. And I love how much sales and marketing kind of cross principles. You should be keeping track of your funnel as a marketer and as a salesperson, because you may find you have too many people in the top of your funnel that aren't getting through. So you got the wrong people in the top of your funnel. Or you may find out, hey, we're getting really good at, anybody who gets down to the bottom of the funnel, they convert really well, but we're not getting enough, which really means your top of funnel isn't big enough. And that's where somebody like you comes in that can make that top of funnel bigger, that can open up avenues that otherwise wouldn't exist.
Yeah. And just gain that market share.
Yeah, 100%. So I really, really appreciate that. Jessica, where can people find you if they're looking to get into this or explore it or want to get a consult with you? Where can they find you, your company? How do they get a hold of you?
So I'm available at getabovethefold.com, as well as I'm pretty active on LinkedIn under Jessica Chase, MBA. And then we have a fun TikTok channel called Programmatic Ads.
Okay.
So probably the best way is just on the website at getabovethefold.com.
Awesome. And I will say, people should go follow you on LinkedIn. You do great content over there. I came across one of your other posts the other night, and it's meaningful and impactful. It was actually something I was reading that was, I think it was your one about, when life derails you from what you think it's supposed to be. And it was a meaningful, that post, I just want to say this, that post was meaningful to me because it was actually something I was going through myself at the moment. So to actually read, your experience with it was like, okay, this is great. And we've had a LinkedIn expert on here in one of our previous episodes. So LinkedIn is definitely something I'm trying to encourage people to utilize more. So I definitely want people to go find you there, go get on getabovethefold.com. I really think you are going to be a really big help to a lot of agencies and a lot of companies. So we want to send as much business as we can your way.
Oh, thank you so much. I think the future for programmatic advertising is bright, and I mean, I think it's headed in a really exciting direction. So just looking forward to helping people for sure.
100% I agree. I mean, when you're telling me all this stuff, I'm like, this is the stuff I think most businesses struggle with, is this front level, like, and marketers do. I know it, from my experience, it's so much easier to default back into Google Ads and Google Analytics and PPC. And I think most people do because it's easier to wrap your head around. But what you're doing
supports
yes,
you.
yeah. And so you can do this side of it that most people struggle with, which makes you highly, highly valuable. So I really appreciate you being on this podcast today. This was absolutely a great show.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Awesome. All right, guys, if you need anything, please get a hold of Jessica, and please continue to watch, like, and subscribe. Share this with anybody you think could use this information, and we'll see you all next time.